cool but a pecan. Thick bitch Puerto Rican. Take you out to Paraguay or California for the weekend. I'm with Sack and Juvie, so you gotta bring about 3 friends. Don't flex, don't pretend. You know we spin the pen.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, we're going to be doing how to make a wig. Well, how do I make my wigs? So first thing you're going to need is a frontal, of course, and as well as some bundles. I'm using the 22 corkscrew head. I got this from Amazon, I believe, so you can also Google them. Then I'm just going to go in with a dome cap, mesh, and then some pins, and then we're going to go ahead and proceed with putting the frontal onto the dome cap. So you want to make sure that your frontal is about an inch forward in front of the cap. So I'm not going to show it here, but later on in the video after this clip, you'll see what I'm talking about. Where the hairline meets, you want it to be an inch lower than where the cap actually is. So I'm going to go ahead and just pin the lace onto the mannequin head so we can move on to the back. And then we're going to go back and adjust the front to where it's supposed to be. So I'm just putting it right directly in the middle. And then we're going to go to the back and pin those down. So when you're doing this, you want to make sure that the back of the frontal is laying flat as possible. You don't want any lumps or humps or anything like that. And you're going to pin the very top first. Once it's centered, make sure it is centered, because if it's not, it's going to mess up the entire wig. So make sure it's centered. We're going to pin the top, then you're going to go all the way down and you're going to pull as hard as you can. Make sure it is directly straight and the frontal is not going sideways. So right here where I'm pointing at, make sure it is not going off to the side at an angle. You want to make sure it goes straight down. And then you're going to go ahead and pin that as well. So once you have it pinned in there, you want to go ahead and move on to the other side and do the exact same thing. You might have to adjust it here and there to get it exactly how it's supposed to be. It's not going to take, a good 3 minutes after you pinned it down. You want to, keep going back, making sure it's flat, making sure it's even as possible. And then you can put your extra pins in there for more security while you're sewing onto the dome cap. So here I'm just going to show you guys how the front should look. It should be very loose like this. The frontal part should be very loose. Well, I should say the net or the lace that shows. So I went ahead and braided the rest of the hair off camera just so it can be out of the way while I'm sewing. If you don't know how to braid, you can also put it in a ponytail. It doesn't really matter. I just like to put it in a braid so it's easier to be out the way. So now you want to go ahead and move on. You're going to need your needle, thread, and you're going to start threading your needle. So if you don't know how to thread a needle, you're just going to put it through the hole, and then you're going to tie the 2 ends together into a knot. So I like to make my string pretty long, just so I don't have to run out and keep redoing it. For beginners, I don't probably suggest you using a very long needle. Maybe because it's just not going to be as easy. And then you're going to go ahead and cut the end of it as well. So now we're going to go ahead and move on to sewing it onto the cap. So I'm going to go under the dome cap and into the lace, if that makes sense. So here's a closer look. I'm going to go under and then up. So under the dome cap and under the lace as well. So once you pull the needle through, you are going to open the other end of the needle where the knot is at that you made a knot, and you're going to put it between those like I'm showing you here. You're going to put the needle between that, forming it's going to kind of, it's not going to be an exact knot, but you're pretty much putting it to where it's holding the thread in place, if that makes sense. It's kind of hard to explain, guys, so hopefully while I'm showing you, you can kind of understand what I mean. All right, so we're just gonna go ahead and do the exact same thing that we did the first time. You're gonna go under and then up, under the dome cap and under the lace. And so it made a huge circle or a huge hole. That's where you're gonna pull the net through, the needle through, sorry. And then you're just gonna pull on that. And you're gonna just keep repeating the process, under and up, under the dome cap and the lace, and then pull through to form its own knot. Also, when I'm sewing onto the frontal, I like to sew very close together. I don't leave huge gaps while I'm sewing because it can make the frontal a bit loopy or loose, and it'll start to form humps in the frontal once you put the wig on. So you want to sew pretty close together and keep repeating the same method over and over. So here I'm just showing you how it looks as I'm threading. This is how you would want your thread to look as well. So once you have reached the bottom of the lace, you're gonna go and do the opposite of what you did before. So I'm going under the lace first and then into the dome cap. So I'm kind of just going backwards. Before we did the dome cap and then the lace front. So here I'm just doing that, and you're gonna cut the string, tie it into a knot like you're tying a shoe, except for without the bow. You're going to tie it into a knot a few times and then tie it all together so it won't come undone. I do this about 3 to 4 times. Now that we have finished the frontal, we're going to move on to the bundles. So you want to start by, well, I like to start actually by at the very bottom of the wig. You don't have to start this low, but I like to. So I'm going to go under the dome cap and then under the lace as well, just like we did with the lace front. And then I'm going to form that circle again and bring the needle through that just so it can hold the track in place. So hopefully this is making sense. It's very hard to explain. So you want to make sure that you're pulling onto the needle as hard as possible. Not too hard where it's going to break the needle or anything, because that's happened to me before. So then you want to take your, this is optional, I just like to take a clip and align it where I want the tracks to be placed, and then I just pin it with a clip or anything like that just to hold the tracks up. This is also optional. I'm usually used to just sewing with the dome head in my lap and not on the tripod stand. It's just a lot easier for me that way. So you can kind of see where and how much space I'm leaving between each time I'm sewing. It's about probably, I guess you can say like an inch and half of an inch is how much space you want to leave. You don't want to put it too far apart because again, the tracks will be lumpy and the wig would not sit flat on your head. So here I'm just showing you how much space I leave between each track. It's about a finger width, I guess you could say, of how much room I leave. That will give you kind of an idea of how much space you need to leave depending on how many bundles that you're using. With this wig, I will be using 3 bundles, so this method will work out perfectly for me. Also, I am doubling my wefts. So here I went ahead and fast forward. Clearly it's the next day, so I did lose some footage. Sorry about that, guys. So I'm doing the exact same thing, but once I get to the top of the head, I'm just going to stop forming a round curve, like, if that makes sense. I'm going to start sewing straight. Once you get to the very top, you want to start making sure that your tracks are going straight across instead of rounded like the letter C almost. So once you are finished with the wig, you want to make sure you of course try it on, but first we're going to cut off the excess dome cap. So you want to flip your wig inside out and we're going to start cutting. So you want to make sure you cut at least leave at least half an inch of space, because you don't want to cut too close or you'll end up cutting the thread as well. So you want to leave at least half an inch and you're going to cut all the way around, and then after this you can go ahead and try your wig on. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. This is how the wig came out after I styled and plucked the wig. Stay tuned for my next video to see how I lay my baby hairs as well. Thanks for watching.
That probably take her.
Ooh, bear making.
Hey, yo. To make concern.